Howdy, and all aboard for episode 3 of The Last Caboose. It is an auspicious day in Calgary. It is August 10th, 1883. The bridge over the Bow River for the Canadian Transcontinental Railway is about to be completed. Calgary is now linked to the east by two iron rails stretching back over 3,000 kilometers to Montreal. Sir George Stephen, the president of the Canadian Pacific Railway, has now left it up to us to complete the first descent into the Canadian Rockings to Siding 29, more commonly known as Banff, and we only have until October of this year to complete it, before the harsh Canadian winter shuts down construction until the snows melt next May. We better get building. So, here we are in Calgary. The Transcontinental Railway has arrived. Since episode 2, I did leave it playing on 3-speed and at quarter date speed, and I've saved up $4.5 million. So I've got about $10 million to work with to get us to Cochrane today to set up our first freight build. I think that should do us. I really hope it does. So here we can imagine that the line stretches back to Winnipeg. Now the CPR, the Canadian Pacific Railway, left Winnipeg over 800 miles away in May 31st of this year. So you can imagine the speed that they were building railway over the prairies. Now there aren't many obstacles in the way. There are coulees and things, and rivers to cross over, but they are building with wood. They're building quickly. This was a railway, as reports have it, that was slapdash together. The mandate from the Conservative government came out that the railway needed to be complete by 1891. So it was a rush for the Canadian Pacific Railway to put the thing together. So I'm sure the first trips on this railway were quite rocky and bumpy. So let us get in on building what is known as the Bonnybrook Bridge in Calgary. Now this bridge ended up, it was rebuilt, so it was built in 1883 and then rebuilt in 1897, and that bridge was extended several times in 1912 and 1916, extended to 4 tracks and things like that. And then on June 27th, 2013, unprecedented rains came to the regions, especially on the eastern slopes of the Rockies. I believe it rained 235 millimeters in 32 hours and 36 hours in Canmore. And there was an unbelievable snowpack that year, lingering around all the way until late June. And all that rain melted all that snow up in the mountains, and it all came rushing down into Calgary. And this bridge, actually, that had been around since 1897, failed with a train on it and derailed. And the train was an oil train. Now, luckily, no oil was spilt or anything went into the Bow River, but it was kind of the end of an era. I do believe they repaired the bridge instead of rebuilding the bridge, which is very much in financial interest. So let's get building this bridge. Now, originally this bridge, the Bonnybrook Bridge today exists as an iron structure, but originally, as we know, they're moving at 130 miles a day. Track building is just ridiculous, so they're building everything out of wood. So that's what we are going to build. Now, I have a mod installed. Oh, I've got invisible track on. There we go. That builds wooden bridges. Now, this doesn't come as part of the vanilla game. I really don't know why, as most bridges in the 1800s, especially in Western North America, were built out of wood. It is a European game developer, so I don't fault them for not knowing or not ceding to the demands of Western North America. So here we go. Bonnybrook Bridge is in. It is August 10th, 1883, and I think it is time to push west. Now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to send this all the way down here, and we're going to try and take the tools down there. So we will have a spur line down into a freight terminal down here. As I said at one point, I want Ogden Yards down here. There's a whole slew of things I'd like to do with this area and the Inglewood area, but right now my focus is getting across and through Calgary, and to go through Calgary, we're gonna have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet here. So we're gonna get rid of this bridge here across the Elbow River. We're gonna shift it up a little bit here. I think the best way to do that is to take these back just a little bit to get rid of that weird curve. I'm gonna get rid of this entirely. I might even get rid of this, but let's see where this track takes us. Now, there is a bridge to the north to the Canadian and Edmonton Railway Company, which formed, I believe, in 1907, but I'll have to check the dates on that. And that bridge kind of goes across at the far end of St. George's Island here. This island is the island that currently holds the Calgary Zoo. If you're at the Calgary Zoo, you can actually watch bridges. I believe it's about there, or watch trains go across this bridge. It's super, super fun, especially for train spotters like myself. But that won't come until a later point in time. What I'm looking to do is trying to get across the Elbow, and I want to do that right where that road bridge was going across. And really, that is essentially where it went. So let's see if we can get across. It's gonna let me go across right there. But what I'd like to do is maybe, let's see. Now I found a way through Calgary, which is not going to be as detrimental as I originally thought. So I think we're going to have to take out all these industrial buildings. And this is essentially where the, look at the price on that. But you know what? It's a lot cheaper than the $5 to $10 million that I felt I was going to have to spend in the first place. And this is pretty much where the rail runs in Calgary. If we look here, this slope here we're moving down into present-day Edworthy Park up here. Bonas Park is over here. This is where the train will cross the Bow River again and head up to Cochrane. And this Sunken Gardens here, I actually grew up in a neighborhood just here. I would stand on a bluff about here and watch grain trains go by in my youth. Grain trains in southern Alberta in September are somewhere up to 3 to 4 kilometers long. I remember counting cars with my father and getting up into the high 100s, generally 2 to 3 engines in the front, 2 to 3 locomotives in the front, 1 in the middle, and up until I was about 8 years old, always a caboose on the end. And unfortunately, I did go out and watch the last caboose go through downtown Calgary, hence the name of the channel. So here we are. We're going to swing around the back of Fort Calgary, and we're going to come across. I think that's actually perfect. I think maybe we can put that road bridge back in where we want it, but we're going to have to shift this roadway here. This gives us plenty of room to put in sidings, and many other things here. In fact, it does give us a strange curve here, but you know what? I think all of our freight is going to come out this way. The freight yard in Calgary is oriented on an east to west axis in Inglewood, but for the gameplay we're going to leave it like this. So let's see if we can get this road back in before we've broken all of our lines. And I'd like to, oh come on, please be nice. Maybe if I start from here. Yes, excellent. Now I'm going to change the bridge type, and I'm going to put it to an iron bridge. Yeah. Because there are no stone bridges in Calgary except for the Centre Street Bridge. Unfortunately, we're going to lose that building, but these things happen. Now, the slope is absolutely atrocious. And also the angle. what have I done? So let's try and make that a little bit better. If we line that up there, change that back to an iron bridge. Absolutely. Again, that slope is atrocious. Does it look like that bridge is sloping up? It doesn't. No. It's just the way it is, and we'll have to live with it. I could take this back one, but for that price, I think we're going to live with it. Simply because I don't know now if I get a curvy road, will that make it better? How about shift M and N? No. It is what it is. We tried everything. This will be rebuilt multiple times. Yeah, I didn't think construction would be possible there. What I am going to do is I'm going to take this road back. Let's see how it sweeps there, and I'm going to take that road all the way back to there. I would like to change this from an iron or a wooden from a stone bridge, so I'm going to take that opportunity. This would have been a wooden bridge at the time, so I think we're going to come down and we're going to be just a little bit further out, and then we're going to kind of come across here, and now we're going to hook up there, and we'll complete this T-junction here. Excellent. Excellent. Now this is a little more historically accurate. I really don't think there would have been a stone bridge in 1890s in Calgary. There's not much local stone to Calgary, obviously, other than the Rocky Mountains, but with no means of mass transportation, we wouldn't have built stone bridges at that time. So there was access to quite a bit of sandstone. In fact, Calgary's architecture is full of quite a bit of sandstone. There are many sandstone quarries to the south of Calgary and to the east of Calgary. Now, as the tracks leave Calgary, as I said, they leave Calgary now. Back when I was a kid, they were in the center of Calgary, and now, as the way Calgary is growing, it is quite a bit bigger of a city than when I knew it when I was a kid. Now, here is where the Bow River ends because of the sea level issue we experienced. Now, here is Bowness. This was a small community that kind of developed after the development of Calgary, and then was amalgamated into Calgary in the 1950s. If you can kind of see, the old river would have taken a hard curve, or the river takes a hard curve here, and then would kind of plop out and then turn back down. What we're going to do is we're going to cross that river here and join up here. So we're going to come across the river. Now, we don't have a river. I have assets that are installed that I can make a river. They are very tedious to use, and we are going to add them. We will spend an episode together, and then maybe I will spend, roughly 3 or 4 years of my life trying to put that all together. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to come along this here. We're coming out across. Now this big swing, then we're going to reach up, and then we curve over at this point. And what we want to do is you can kind of see the train is going up a bit, and the river here, what we want to do is we're wanting to cross the river about there. The site of the 1988 Olympics was at Pascapoo, or Canadian Olympic Park, which is roughly about there. And the train tracks cross just prior to that, so I think they cross about here. So let us kind of aim for that. back. There we go. Make a nice sweep here. Now we have an interesting mod here that we can use, and it's a zero height bridge. Now what we do with the zero height bridge is we can turn it on and we can choose our bridge style, and if we scroll all the way to the bottom we'll get wooden bridges, and if you close it and you go like this, and then I build a piece of track, I build it level, you can see how it's wanting to make an embankment, and this is where the river actually is. So if we can kind of imagine the river is there, and then all of a sudden we have, boom, presto, a very nice bridge going over it, and then we've got to make sure to turn zero height bridge off, and we can continue our train track right along here. And dogs, sorry, are making quite a bit of noise in the background, but there's not much I can do about a dog's life. And then here we have a zero height bridge. Now we can come in afterwards, terraform under it, giving it a bit more definition to this river valley, this river bed, and then we can add the asset in afterwards. But let's continue our journey west to Cochrane. The railway here follows right along the riverbank, and it follows all the way through, all the way along this riverbank. Now, the railway, as it's leaving Calgary, is really going up at quite a gentle grade. Now, what we don't want to do, we know, is lose height. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to do that, and we will smooth it to make it look, you know what, no, let's be realistic here, and we're going to bend it. Now this is going to be a curvy railway. Speeds won't matter all that much. The maximum speed through most of the Rocky Mountain stretches of the Canadian Pacific Railway is 80 kilometers an hour. So anything over 80 on any of our turns is great, but even the maximum speed throughout most of the railway here leading to Banff is not that high. It is not a fast railway. We are not in the business of transporting goods quickly. We're in the business, the Canadian Pacific Railway is in the business of transporting lots of goods. Trains are huge in Western Canada. The goods trains coming in from Vancouver are almost as long as the grain trains. So now we can see that we're going to come steeply around this corner, and what I think we're going to do is we're going to cut in just a little bit early on this one, just to cut some of the corner. So we're going to leave it straight here until we meet pretty much the river, and then we're going to take it up just a bit. Oh, that's too much. There we go. And then we're going to cut in, and you can see that our speed is just scrubbing off, but you know what? That is exactly how this railway is built. It is curved. If you look at a Google map of the even current existing line, there is not too many straight sections. And see if we go back to there. Now it does widen out here, and you can see that the main path of the river is over there. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to take this to flat, and we're going to build it over to here, and we're going to build, see, we've come right back across, and if we can just arc out here, and we can start aiming to put ourselves on a ledge right where the river comes back onto this north side, this north bank, and if we can just cut into this bank, and we are almost in Cochrane. So here we go, we're going to cut into this bank. Oh boy, we are making a mess of this hill. So let's see if we can cut into this bank a little sooner. let's take it back, and I think if we go here, but then if we keep it flat or even trending up a bit, that would be excellent. Yes, I think that's the ticket right there. We're still making a mess of the hill, but we're just going to have to come with the terrain tools afterwards. It is what it is. Sometimes you win. In fact, I'm actually not that displeased with having a cliff like that. This is something you see often in the prairies on riverbeds, is a cliff form like this and then the shale slope below. It's just the way the erosion works in these river valleys. Most of these river valleys, if we zoom out and we just take a quick peek at the geology here, we're looking at wide open valleys here. And now this would have been a valley created primarily by the erosion due to a glacier flowing through here. And as the glacier retreated, the river took over. And the river took over the erosion, but since the glaciers retreated 12,000 years ago, there hasn't been much time for erosion, whereas in these steeper, sharper valleys, much of their final cutting has been done by water, so you get a more V-shaped valley, whereas these big U-shaped valleys were primarily formed by glaciers. So as time goes by, these Bow River Valley and the Columbia River Valley that we'll see in one of our future playthroughs, and the Kootenai River Valley that we might see several series on, they're formed by huge glaciers that existed in North America. But we'll also be traveling through something like the Kicking Horse, and the Kicking Horse has just been gouged out very violently by massive churning water. So it's geology plays a great role in how railways are formed, shaped, and it's always interesting. It always mystified me when traveling through the BC Rockies, how they managed to get the rails to stick to some of the sides. Now, as you can see, I'm just again following along the terrain. We can see where the river wants to flow, and you can see that it winds back and forth because the terrain is so flat. The river tends to snake quite a bit more. The more snakes, the straighter the river, the faster the river. Let's turn that back on to there. Let's see what's happening here, because I feel that I think we should just cut the corner here. It would have been what the engineers would have done. And if I can bring that to some sort of semblance of level. So if I bring that, I know that it will get back to level if I create a little cutting here. And by cutting, I mean embankment. And again, we'll have to come back. I see I'm just a bit high there. So what I want to do is ultimately, I do like where I'm sitting here. So I think what I'm going to do is just accept it. And we're going to actually, what we want to do really is come a little bit closer in, just simply because I guess sometimes you do go down to go up. We want to be a little bit further into this riverbank here, and I'll show you why here in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some more cuttings, and we're going to come right along the river edge here. And what I want is we'll smooth this out so it looks like we built the river or the track right in to the side of the riverbed. And we're going to come around like this. We're going to chop off some of the river, or take some artistic license, just the scaling of this. And it is going to be tough here to get a proper curvature. We are going to have to lose some of this road here coming out. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to get around here. And to tell you the truth, I don't know if we need to. I don't think that this road, see this road here heading up here? This is the Highway 1A coming out of Calgary and into there, but you know what? That seems like a future me problem. I think right now our main focus is in getting the railway in. I might take it to sandbox mode and shift this back a little bit. I'm not entirely sure. These are things, when you create maps, you're not going to play through the entire map and have a complete idea of what's going on, so until you actually get to the point. So here, I think, is where we can have our first cargo station. So it's going to be a cargo through station. We're going to have one track. Much of the CPR, obviously built with speed in mind, was single tracked and had sidings for passings, and that was about it. So if I can bring this back here, and we're still connected to there, perfect. And if I could just wants to attach, and what I don't want it to do, so if I can just bring that back, and I know where that's got to go now. If I can bring that back to here, just to give myself enough room to make a turn at the far end of the station there, and hopefully I've left myself enough room here if I bring this back to here and bring this in to here. Excellent. So now we're attached. Let's make our intentions known on how we're getting out of town in Cochrane here. And there we go. Now we do have this in Cochrane. We will have a passing loop at the station and possibly through Cochrane itself, just to allow some trains to pass, but we're going to bring it sharpish back in here. It is going to be a slow junction, and really, like I said, we are not speed freaks here in the Western Canada. We are get it done. So I don't think this will ever get by that corner. Oh, you know what? We might be able to cheese it by. Let us see. Now, can I connect here? What an excellent fortuitous moment right there. Excellent. Now, I can go by and definitely smooth out the terrain. Do a little smoothie, but my bank account says that I probably shouldn't do it. So now as we fly down the Bow River, obviously the river needs to be added. It will make this this playthrough, but let me just quickly show you. Maybe we can put some water underneath this bridge here, just quickly. I do want to get a train on this before we say goodbye today, obviously, but here's the water asset, and as you can see, it's in German, which I do have some German, to the extent that I know that Wasser means water, rund is round, simply because I've seen that. This Eckig means square, that's triangle, and that's a brook. So normal, blue, green, beige, clear, and red, violet. Don't want violet. Normal is nice. The Bow River is a glacier-fed river, and it is quite clear. So if we can put some water here, and I don't want it flooding the tracks, but I also want it quite close to the tracks. So if we put it here, and we can see that it's actually quite a large sheet of water, and if we use our comma and period keys, we can bring it up and down, and if we shift, and then what I can do is if you can see that the edge of this water, again I'm pointing at my screen, is quite a ways over, and I can probably cheese it to there, and then we can dig it and make it look nice. Now, with putting that in, this bridge doesn't make much sense the way it is, so we're going to just go like this, and maybe let's straighten here. Let's find my ASDF keys here again. Again, it's late at night. I'm recording. What I want to do is give myself a good embankment, turn my zero height bridge on, and I want to come straight across where I know that I'm going to be here, and then I think that seems like a pretty good spot to end my bridge, maybe a little bit sooner, and I think that might give us a little bit better of a bridge. Yeah, and it does. And now here we don't have quite a nice lineup, so I'm going to just take that back. Now you notice that I've left it on pause for this entire build, and that's so I can get the refunds, because I know that I'm going to be manipulating the track, changing the track. So yeah, here we go. We've got some water in. Now here's why it's so difficult to put this water in. That one chunk is fine. I have 130 kilometers or more of that water to put in, and I somehow have to line it up using M&N, and then if I come closer, get it down to the same height, shift it over, and if you overlap it too much, it flashes. If you don't overlap it enough, you get a crease. But I think, you know what, these are things that I'm going to have to live with. If you look at it, oh, it's time for me to go to bed, folks. Not tonight. Still got one more day of Christmas holidays left. So let's get one more piece of water in here. Just simply, I don't even know if these cost me money yet. That is something I have not looked into. I certainly hope they don't, because this is going to be... See, if you can see how the edge there flashes when you overlap them, and that is just the most incredibly frustrating thing. So you try and butt them up, and then hope for the best, I guess. See, we've got a little bit of a weird corner here. What I think you could do is just scale it right down. Take this piece here, plop it right down, and over and in, and hopefully it won't be too flashy. See, it's definitely at the wrong height, or it's flashing, or I've left a gap. Either way, I think for cab rides, we're not going to notice it too much. I'm going to notice if I sit and I stare at it like this, but really, in the grand scheme of things, that looks a lot better. Now, what I've done is I've left zero height bridge on. So let's take that back. Let's take it back to here, right to there, and pop that back in as not a bridge, because why would you build a bridge unless there was a marsh? There we go. So now we have our line through Calgary. Eventually our passenger train station will sit here. This downtown area is really highly populated in Calgary. The train line still runs right through the middle of the downtown, but much of it's kind of tucked away behind skyscrapers, unfortunately, now. So I think let's put our last building, and we're just going to put a Terminus Station in, and we're going to put it down here. And now if I connect it to this road here that has that wheat, and let's angle it a little bit so it's going in the direction that we want it to go. And we know it connects to both of those. As I said, these are all going to change multiple times as I find better ways to do this. I want a shunting service to go between these two freight yards. I just think it would be super, super cool and super realistic. But who's to say if that's going to work? Now, this building will move, but it will be the only building, the only depot on our map. And as I said, the Ogden Yards in Calgary are where locomotives are built today. So this building makes quite a bit of sense. And we'll just connect it in. Now, we don't need signals, we just have one train. We might have two trains actually. Depending on money, how much a train costs, we might be able to get a second train. But we are also running low on time, so I think we'll just get our one train out today, and then I'll put in some passing loops. Much of this track, even today, is single track all the way out to Cochrane and beyond, all the way up into Banff, and it's certainly single track through most of the Rocky Mountains. Trains just wait. Like I said, speed's not a factor, it's just sheer volume of goods. So let's get a line set up here. First freight line, and we are going to go from Cochrane. Oh, not from the 7th Street station. That would be difficult. So we're gonna go stop that. Yeah, oh, is it 7th Street? That's what it's chosen to name itself. Well, I think it's time to rename that. We're gonna call this Cochrane Sidings. And I will find the actual siding number and for the CPR for Cochrane, and we will call it as such. And then we are going to come into here, and I'm going to rename this Calgary Ogden Yard. And not a yark, it's a yard. There we go. And we can rename this train depot to the Ogden Locomotive Works. Excellent. Now, that line, we're going to add a station. We're going to go to the Ogden Yard. We're going to change the color of all of our freight. Well, maybe not all of it, but I want all of our passenger services to be this deep, dark red. And I think our freight is going to be black. Actually, you know what? This is logs. Let's keep it brown. Let's try and use many of the colors. Here I am, and install a mod that allows hundreds of different colors, and you use two. So we're gonna, logs are brown, and that's what we're taking. So let's build a consist here. So we have a Baldwin 6-wheeler, and it is 40 kilometers an hour, has very little power, decent amount of tractive effort. Well, not even decent, but it's really the first engine that they give you. The General, 45 kilometers an hour. It's got 177 horsepower and 8,900 foot-pounds of torque, and it costs $79,000 per year. Now the Baldwin Class 56, now its cost is $400,000. The Baldwin here, 60 kilometers an hour, and it's the standard freight locomotive. It has quite a bit of power, huge amounts of torque, and you know what? I think this is going to be the one. So I'm sure we're going to have to take out a loan for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to max out our loan, and we're going to build this consist here. I do want to color this this freight or this locomotive black. I think they look stunning in black, so we will go with that. We'll get some cargo, flat sidecar with stakes. Let's leave them in their default colors. We don't have very much slope here, and we know that our platforms are 160 meters long, so 158 meters. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cars on there. It can take 98, and it's going to cost us $3.8 million. I think this is all fair. It's going to make us a ton of money, and I think we set that on line 1, which we need to rename immediately. Let us call this Calgary Plank Freight. Excellent. And I think we are ready to hit play. Now, I'm just double checking. I have hit pause on the date. At the beginning, I did say we only have until October to get all the way up to Banff. I have $2.5 million. I am going to go into the red. I have $2.5 million left on my loan, so it is going to take us some line tweaking. I know that our trucks make enough to cover the loans right now, or our carriages. So let's see. Let's pop on and watch this guy come out. It's looking happy. Yeah. Howdy to you. It's got a clean signal, and I don't know why I'm sitting here following it like that. There's a button that is used to do that, so look at this guy go. Well, I think that kind of brings us to a close of this episode. I would like to see that come on up and fill up, and maybe we'll catch the cab ride on the way back. But boy, does it look good and feel good to have trains on this map, because that's really what this game is all about for me, is the wonderful trains. This consolidation engine is just absolutely fantastic. Look at that detail. Oh, I love this game. So anyway, let's see, we've got a problem. Cochrane log haulage. Station types don't match for bus and train stations. Excuse me. Oh, I see. When I put in this, we lost the delivery. Interesting. I would have never thought that would have been an issue. And now we don't have any money. So we're gonna have to, because we need to have those horses delivering. Let's see if we can make that work. If we can manage this line after the Cochrane sidings. No, we want to go Cochrane Forest to here, 15th Street, and after 15th Street we would like to go to the waypoint. Excellent. Perfect. There are no warnings. Planks will be made, hopefully. Does anyone know what this guy's doing? Oh, it's still in pause, that's why. There we go. So, if we've set this up correctly, did I run that long enough? What has happened here? There are more than enough logs on here, so I don't know why some are coming back empty. That makes no sense to me, but now I think everything's kind of worked itself out. Bit frustrating. Let's just try and turn some of these guys around that are going out empty, because there's no need for that. It will bunch up a whole bunch of these guys, but you know what? Now we need the Cochrane sightings to produce. So I've never seen that happen before, but I guess that is something. The game is always throwing something new at you. You're always learning something new. So this is what happens. So let's turn that guy around too. I mean, they're almost at their destination, but really, there is no need. They do not have any cargo on them. So let's turn anything around that has no cargo on it. Wow. There we go. And you're practically there, but we're gonna save you the trip. And you also, boom, cut that guy off. There we go. Now, see, it's only stored one, so we unfortunately have to wait until the next guy, the next horse that's carrying logs comes in, which unfortunately isn't until, oh, you aren't carrying anything. So you can go back, try again. Very interesting. So anyway, I think, yeah, our first vehicle with logs is quite a ways out. They are all going to bunch up again. Hey, you win some, you lose some. That is the way it works. Now let's go check on our train, see how it's making its way around. It's almost all the way up here. It is going to definitely, probably not pick up anything. I don't think I can really afford it not doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to manage this line, and we're going to go for full load all, and we're just going to do this temporarily until we are assured that we're going to make money. Now I'm going to do some fancy editing here, and we're going to throw this into 4-speed and speed this up so we can get that cab ride in before we have to call it an evening for me, but maybe it's a day for you or a morning. But say goodbye at least. So let's try and get some of these logs in here, and we're gonna hope for the best. Alright, sorry about that. I was trying to get a view from the caboose. I'm gonna have to work on that. The camera is centered and pivoted around the engine, so when you're at the back of the train, things get a little weird. So I'll work on that for future episodes, but let's enjoy the ride back to Calgary. Thanks so much for watching.